Welcome everybody to the Creative Journey series. My name is Rosemary Geralt and I am the founder of this YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to share as many inspirational stories as I possibly can. My guest today, at the age of 28, discovered that her and her husband were going to be blessed with a set of twin daughters. So without further ado, I would like to invite the beautiful Sandi Mambi.
Hi, Rosemary.
Morning, Sandi. Thank you so very much for joining this channel and going to share your incredible story.
Thank you so much, Rosemary, for having me on this channel. Oh yeah, where do I even begin? When I first had my twins, of course, it was a very exciting time. We were so happy, looking forward to having a set of twins. It's one thing discovering you're pregnant, but learning you're having twins, it was like something else. So it was both scary yet exciting. The pregnancy was normal, nothing out of the ordinary, except perhaps just before the birth, I got a bit, of hypertension. I think it was, the doctor actually had no reason to worry about it. Twins were born with by cesarean section. So I had a general anesthetic. So that is how they were delivered by my one and a smaller one. So there was nothing really alarming or out of the ordinary. But as they started normal, they were going along as expected through all the milestones. It took very long for them to develop speech. Actually, yeah, by the time they were 3, there was still no speech. And then, of course, there started to be other behaviors that I thought were concerning. Esona and, okay, their names are Esona and Sisa. In case people, let me not assume that everybody knows. So the names are beautiful. Because they indeed were a blessing to us. So they were both okay, but Esona, was the one who would start, when they started walking, she used to walk around on her tippy toes a lot. She would throw tantrums where she would harm herself. She would bang her head against the walls. And Sisa had she was a light sleeper. So she took a while to sleep, and when most of the nights, especially after 18 months or so, she would cry a lot. Neighbors want to call, because we lived in a block of flats where they would want to call the police, or think something wrong is happening, somebody's harming this child. There's no way a child could be crying like this, And, we did everything we could to ensure that we give these children health, access to health care. We would address our concerns with the doctors. But I think at that time in South Africa, there was not a lot of exposure towards, the world of autism. There was not maybe enough research or knowledge about it, because even when I had started to read, you want to find out for yourself as a mother, why is my child doing this? Why is my child walking on her toes? Unexpected ways to certain food and things like that, like they would throw up certain food. And you start reading, and that is when I started realizing there is something called autism, or Autism Spectrum Disorder. And so I think they started the concern for me, the worry for me. And unfortunately, I think also it also came with its own pitfalls, where I started thinking, oh my goodness, what could I have done wrong? Something is wrong with my child. You don't look at it as my child is different. You think something is wrong with my child. What can I do to make it right? So it was it started becoming that journey. And every time I would approach a doctor about this to say, have you looked at this or autism spectrum disorder? And every time, I think because there are multiples, there's a lot of also information or exposure that doctors have where they will say, it is quite normal that twins take longer to speak. It is quite normal that they are delayed because they have each other at all times. They understand each other. Sometimes they don't feel the need to be able to express themselves to other people. You will start to see that, okay, there is a lot here that is unusual. And us as parents, we're not sure how to deal with it, and we're not able to get the right professional advice and support at the time. She used to have these tantrums where she will bite people, excuse me, unexpectedly. So you are picking this child up thinking, oh, what a cute little girl, and she will bite you and leave you with a most severe, oh my goodness. Even my sister had this this wound on her chest from Sisa biting her. And I remember taking her to the doctor's room, and the doctor said what he thinks is the matter is a heart problem. You know, being this child's mother, I'm like, I know for sure there is nothing wrong with Sisa's heart, but now what can I do? I'm not an expert. And what if there is something wrong? Let them check for everything. They would check, they would do all kinds of tests, but the tests that mattered.
What age eventually did you have your children diagnosed after going to doctor to doctor to doctor? So how many years did it take for that final diagnosis?
Okay, by the age of 6, remember now, you have to have taken your kids to school, you have to have socialized them. You can see they don't have friends and things like that because it's difficult for them to relate to other kids, around them. So we needed a school. So you know what I did? I just went to the Johannesburg Hospital school because I found that online. I found it through, there's various resources that support autism, although it's not really personalized because I think they just take autism as one thing. They don't know how it's going to look for each and every child, But I found this school, and they said in order for them to admit the kids to the school, they need to have an official diagnosis, because by then I was diagnosing them myself that my kids have autism. I need a school that deals with kids with autism. So that was the one I could find at the moment, which eventually led me to finding, I was sent to Baragona Academic Hospital, where there is a specialist there, a special test to get the correct diagnosis for them. So it was an incredible journey. They were around 7 years old when they got that official diagnosis.
And then so that journey from there to 7 to where they are now, and I think you said to me they're 13. How was their development in that time period from going to school, and now they're teenagers? Which comes with its own issues.
Comes with its own issues for sure. I think the journey, we have gone through so much with them. They've gone through so much changes and growth as well. From kids with autism, they don't have a sense of danger. They don't have a sense of this is a stranger, this is a car, and things like in my case. So let me not say all kids with autism, because they don't react the same. So and mine as well, they are completely non-speaking, meaning they have very limited vocabulary or none at all. But I'm glad to say now they're starting to have some words, which is amazing. I've seen a lot of great.
Can I just stop you there? So if they have no words, how do they communicate? Do they understand what you're saying? Do they understand what pictures or an iPad, or how can they tell you what they want? other
Okay,
than
there's
body language? I mean, you'll know your children inside out. So how do they communicate with you, and how do they communicate with the kids at school if they're not speaking?
Okay. At school, okay, they will point at what they want, they will gesture what they want, they will bring you what it is that they want. So it's mostly through actions. Actions speak louder than words in my house.
Especially
So
the non-verbals in any case.
yes. So it's that. And yes, the pictures, I can see now that it's starting to work much better. But previously, I found it we were battling with that aspect of using the pictures for indicating what it is that they're trying to communicate. But the best way for them, they will just take you to where they want you to go, or they will. I think maybe it's quite selfish of us because we're already in the house.
That is
When
amazing. Sandi, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you now, but I'm just
no
imagining
problem.
when you go shopping with children and they have tantrums when they can't get what they want. Tell me about your children, maybe through that phase, or do they just show you now, or do they have a tantrum?
It's amazing. I think it's all a mindset shift. You know, before I do anything with my kids, before I start my day, before I even go out, I always start with, grounding myself, saying a prayer and things like that. And it's amazing. It's amazing the response I get out there. My kids will, and the imagine. And we just had a very difficult lunch date with them where they're not even settled on the table where we are. Okay, so the modus operandi wherever we go. So if I get into the restaurant, I'll say to them as autistic, we tend to do that, and we're just boxing them. They related more than normal kids. So I ensure wherever I got autism, you are not going to get the normal behavior. Don't take it as they are ill behaved. They are not going to act the way you expect. So before we sit down, we explain all that. So we had been done now with that lunch, and went out of the restaurant, and as soon as I saw somebody eating an ice cream, and they are so fast, grab that ice cream so quickly. Thank goodness there was no COVID or what. And the person, we're all looking at each other like, but the great thing is that man just laughed his head off so hysterical and said, just keep it, kid. I'm trying to say is most of the time we deprive ourselves, and I've done that so much. We deprive ourselves the time, the experiences of life. We deprive ourselves the times to go out because we're thinking, oh my goodness, they're gonna act inappropriately. They're going to, I want to speak my language. They're going to super people out there. They're going to hustle people out there, but people are so, people out there, there's a lot of good people. People always I have never really, I would not be fair if I would say people give us dirty looks or, we get intolerance that much. And I think it's important to always communicate it and just make it known that, because that man, I didn't even have to explain anything, but he could see that, okay, he just looked at us like, and we all just laughed about it and went our own way,
Yeah.
So I think it takes also a lot of growth on your part to be able to go out there and tell yourself, you know what, the world is going to have to adjust to these children. I'm not going to try and change who they are. I can only protect them.
Sandi, as well, a lot of people might just shut themselves away from the world because, so I'd like to really applaud you and your husband for this incredible open attitude. But I would like to ask you a question. So initially, when you had the twins, which is really busy, life is hectic, as a couple?
I think our relationship in the beginning, it was, you know, with every, especially for me, it was my first children, you know, those were my firstborn kids. It was a very exciting time. No, in the beginning, I think things got harder the more the years went on and they remained undiagnosed, and we had no real support of how to deal with this. It did take us a strain. Our relationship really did take a strain. First, you need to be able to nourish yourself, nourish each other, and then it overflows to your children. I feel like we were both in a situation where we are blaming each other and not communicating our frustrations and all that. So I guess each one was trying their best to manage this.
Yeah.
And so a lot would go unsaid, and you are finding problems dealing with the difficulties of the children. I mean, the children cannot even express themselves the way you would want, you know. And now, in a way, it because we're not really working on ourselves on a deeper level, then it I think inadvertently led to us also not being able to express ourselves in the relationship. Sometimes the troubles we go through are actually a blessing in disguise. And I think it really, really helped us to work on things and be able to be better parents to these children and relate, you know, in a much better way with each other as well. So, and also taking time just to nurture yourselves is also going to do a lot to ensure that you are not only living, you know, for these children, but you also, because once you are only doing things for them, but not for yourselves, you are not going to give your best to them as well.
Then you burn out, and then you can't cope with anything. And for me, that is a very powerful message, Sandi. Thank you for sharing that. Are there any groups you belong to where you can encourage each other?
Definitely. I was very lucky. You know, I think the more I worked on my issues, because I think in the beginning I had a lot of self blame with this thing of autism. Although, you know, you realize that there's nothing you could have done to prevent it, and it's not necessarily a disease. It is just a way of expression. It's how God made these children extra sensitive, extra feeling, and all of that. So the more I spoke out about it, the more I expressed myself, the more I was able to get in the circles of people going through the same thing. So luckily I'm in a group run by a very wonderful lady, Khomutso. It's called Puzzle Pieces. It's a support group for moms of kids with autism. So it's a great space to be. I joined this group this year. So we were already under COVID restrictions and all that. So far we've done everything on Zoom. We've met each other individually here and there, and we do, you know, frequent check-ins with each other. You share your experiences. We encourage each other all the time. We celebrate our kids there, whatever, you know, happens. It's just a great space.
It's powerful to belong to a group of like-minded people where you can help nurture and support each other. If there was a mother who suspected that her child was different or was maybe autistic, what tips would you give her? And what would you say are the things you need to look out for? What would you say to this mom who's worried about her child?
First of all, I would say, you know, don't feel bad, don't personalize this, don't start thinking there could have been anything you've done wrong. In most instances, I think that's the guilt sets in, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I could have done something wrong with my child. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing even wrong with the child. You just need to understand their uniqueness and, you know, try and build a life that will be able to support who that child is. The next thing would obviously to go and get access to a pediatric neurologist, because those are the people who are able to check and do all the necessary tests to diagnose your child. And thereafter you will need, because the earlier it is detected and then the earlier you get the necessary tools to manage it, then the better you are able to manage and see growth in your child. So get the diagnosis, get help from professionals like occupational therapists, speech therapists, any kind of therapy that you think will help your child manage their lives a bit better.